Hello, in this video we're going to take a look at simple interest and take a look at some examples of solving for simple interest and solving for some other parts of simple interest. But in this video we're gonna look specifically at solving for simple interest. So first of all, your formula for simple interest is the formula I equals PRT. And in this formula, I represents your interest, P represents your principal, which is your starting amount or your initial amount. Rate is your annual interest rate. That's typically going to be given to you as a percentage, which we will need to convert into a decimal, or we'll need to use the percentage button on our calculator. And then time. T represents the time in years. So once again, just to show you the definitions that I was talking about. So interest is the dollar amount of money that you earn on your savings or on your investments. So that in our case, we're going to be focusing on simple interest. The P stands for principal. Principal is the initial amount saved or deposited into an account. Interest rate is the percentage paid to you for your savings. It's always stated in annual percentage rates or by annual rate per year. So you must convert this to a decimal value or use the percentage key on your calculator when you're plugging this formula in. And then last is time, the length of time that you keep your money in one of these accounts. So the time when we put it in has to be in years. So if they give it to us if they give us the time is 6 months, for example, we're going to have to convert that to years. So 6 months would be half of a year or 0.5 years, and that's what we're going to have to be putting into our equation. So here's our first example. Example 1, find the simple interest earned if you place $1,000 in a savings account that earns 3% for 2 years. So I always recommend start with your formula. I is equal to PRT, where P represents your principal, R represents your rate, and T represents your time in years, and then I represents your interest. So we are trying to find the simple interest. So I is going to remain a variable. My principal, the amount that I start with, is $1,000. My rate is 3%. So I can either use 3% in my calculator and use the percentage button in my calculator, or we can rewrite this out, or we can convert 3% to 0.03 as a decimal. So either one of those will work for us. And then time in years, well, they were nice to us here and they gave us that time is 2 years, and they gave it to us in those terms. So with your calculator, you can plug this in exactly as you see it. So 1,000, I'm going to plug in 0.03. So 1,000 times 0.03 and then times 2, and that gives us 60. So our interest earned after 2 years of having $1,000 in this account would be $60. Here's another example. Once again, we're going to start off with our formula. I is equal to PRT. And this time we want to find the simple interest earned if you place $500 in a savings account that earns 1.5% for 3 years. So we've got I is equal to my principal is 500. My rate is 1.5%, so we can change that to 0.015, or you could do 1.5% using the percentage button in your calculator. And then our time is 3 years. So now if we plug this into our calculator, we end up with $22.50. So my total interest earned is $22.50. All right, let's look at our next example. This time we have find the total amount of money in your account after 3 years if you place $500 in a savings account that earns 1.75%. So notice this one isn't asking us to find our interest. It's asking us to find the total amount in our account. Well, in order to find that, we still need to find our simple interest. So I'm still going to start off with I is equal to PRT. My I is my unknown right now. My principal was $500. My rate was 1.75% or 0.0175. And my time in years was 3. So now we've got 500 times 0.0175, or 1.75%, times 3, and that gives us the value of $26.25. Now, that is your interest earned. What this question asks for, though, is the total amount of money in our account. Well, we started off with $500, so our total is going to be that initial $500 that was placed in the account plus the $26.25 that we earned from our interest, giving us a total amount of $526.25. In our next example, this one wants us to find the simple interest earned if you place $3,000 in a money market that earns 1.25% for 9 months. So we're looking for our simple interest again, so we're going to start with I is equal to PRT. My interest is our unknown. My principal is $3,000. That's what we start with. My rate is 1.25%. Well, as a decimal, that's going to be 0.0125. And our amount of time here, so time is in months. We need to convert that to years. So I know that there are 12 months in a year. So this is going to be 9/12 of a year, which we can simply put that in our calculator just like that, 9/12, and we can leave it like that. So I would start off with our 9/12 first. So take 9 divided by 12, and that ends up getting us 0.75. And then you can immediately take that in your calculator and take 0.75 times 0.0125 and times 3,000. And that gives us a total value of $28. Gives us a total value of $28, and then we have 0.125. So notice, if we're talking money here, we're not going to round this to the nearest thousandths. So this is going to round that up. So our interest will be $28.13. And finally, our last example. So example 5, find the total amount in your account if you place $5,000 in a CD that earns 4% for 60 days. So our formula is I is equal to our principal times our rate times our time. Even though I'm looking for the total amount, I still need to find my interest first. So we have I is equal to, my principal is 5,000. My rate is 4%, so 0.04. And then my time, this time it's in days. So I know that there are 365 days in a year. So I can, in order to find this, I can take 60 and divide it by 365, and that's going to convert that into years for me. So if we take 60 divided by 365, we end up with a really, really long decimal, 0.16438356616. So in order to be as accurate as possible, we want our very last step to round. So I'm going to leave that long decimal in my calculator, and I'm going to turn around and hit times 0.04 for the 4%, and then times 5,000. And now I can round the answer that I get on my calculator. So we've got $32, and we have 0.876. So this is actually going to round up to 0.88. So $32.88 is the interest earned. Now remember, I'm looking for the total amount in my account if I placed $5,000. So my total is going to be my initial $5,000 plus my $32.88 in interest, which is going to give me a grand total of $5,032.88.